grossly insensitive, or is he being deliberately and maliciously misunderstood? That's the center stage face-off for tonight. Joining us on the show, representing the BJP, Sudhanshu Mittal. From the Congress Party, Arjun Morwadia joins us from Ahmedabad. Also with us, Professor J.S. Bandukwala. He's a riot victim. He's felt the pain of 2002 personally and very, very closely. With me in the studio, Congress's Tehseen Poonawalla. Shaina NC from the BJP is also with us. It's going to be a 2-on-2 fight tonight. I want to start by first going across to Sudhanshu Mittal. You know, kutte ka bacha, you know, when you use that phrase, Narendra Modi's critics argue that to link the riots and to use that analogy is completely out of place. Narendra Modi has been highly insensitive and he should immediately apologize for what he said.
Rahul, what you just now showed us, where is even a remote reference to the right and the right victims? I mean, I would have appreciated if you would have shown me the question to which this excerpt has been linked to. What does he say? He says, as a driver, even if there is an accident in which an animal is injured or dead, you are hurt. And if I'm a chief minister, or even if I'm not a chief minister, any mishap takes place, I will be terribly
Sudhanshu,
hurt.
hold your thought. Before you go any further, let me tell you what the question was.
Please.
Let me also give you his answer. The first question to him: is it frustrating that many people still define you by the 2002 riots? Narendra Modi answers that. The next question is, do you regret what happens? In response to which he says, I tell you, India's Supreme Court is considered a good court in the world today. The Supreme Court created an SIT and the most bright officers overlook the SIT, he says. I think they're paraphrasing what Narendra Modi said, which is why they've got their grammar mixed up. It goes on to say, I was given a thoroughly clean chit. A thoroughly clean chit is repeated. Another thing, and now he says, any person, if we are driving a car, we are a driver, and someone else is driving a car and we are sitting behind, then even if a puppy comes under the wheel, will it be painful or not? Of course it is. This question and the answer are both in the context of what happened in 2002, Sudhanshu Mittal.
Agreed. Now if you look at the answer, he says even, and if you look at the tweet he's given, he says, in our culture, we value the life of anybody. It is we revere the life of anybody. And there he says, if a life is lost, naturally you are hurt. And if I am the chief minister, even if I'm not the chief minister, if a mishap takes place, I'm upset. What
This
else
business
do you
of
want me to say?
valuing lives came later. Sudhanshu Mittal, this business of valuing life
Because
in a response on Twitter.
You see, this metaphor, when it was being taken in a derogatory sense, he clarified it. He says, I am talking about a life which is revered in my culture. What else do you want him
Tehseen
to say?
Poonawalla, look at what Narendra Modi says. He says, I feel the pain, I feel the anguish. Instead of taking the fact that he's actually expressing regret for what happened. When he's asked, do you regret what happened? That's the answer he's given. Instead of that, to take one phrase and to blow it out of proportion, do you not think that this is much ado about what Narendra Modi was saying? Because he's expressing his pain and anguish.
Except that he wasn't expressing his pain and anguish. Rahul, your question was correct. The question was in retaliation to the 2002 riots. It was a very specific question. In context of that question, he now uses the word kutte ka bacha. Not animals as Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal tries to sugarcoat it. He uses kutte ka bacha. He then goes on to say that, you know, he did everything in his power, if you continue the thing, to get justice to people. He does not get justice. We know what the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court had to move cases out of Gujarat. Narendra Modi is clearly lying on this context. He is arrogant as usual. He's lying about facts, and he says that, and I want to ask him a simple question, that if he was the chief minister, since this was in question to the 2002 riots, and he was sitting in the back seat, who was driving the car? Who was running the state? As chief minister today, isn't it his duty to bring the perpetrators of those riots to justice? What has he done since then? What he has done has tried to subvert justice until the Supreme Court had to intervene and move the cases out of Gujarat.
For only others and not the Godhra victims? I mean, this kind of a perverse obsession with communalism is deplorable.
How is it a perverse? How is it perverse, Mr. Mittal Saab? I am repeating the words your chief minister has said. He said he was backseat in the car while somebody else was driving it. This is in response to the 2002 riots, which means the chief minister, the do-goer chief minister, the man who's on a mission, the chief minister who drives Gujarat, was not driving the state. Somebody else was driving it. Isn't it justified that the people of this country know who was driving the state? Isn't it
I'm sorry, I will not allow this. I will not allow crosstalk. Sudhanshu Mittal, 1 second. We will not allow crosstalk because it makes no sense. It becomes a fish market and then there's no point in having a debate. We may as well just adjourn Parliament. Just one by one, I want to bring in Shaina Insi. Shaina, Kutte ka Bacha. In response to a question about the 2002 riots, do you not think that the use of phrase is highly inappropriate? He might have meant well, but what he said in the manner in which it came out seems to be rather insensitive.
Rahul, you're a very intelligent journalist, and I would only appeal to you not to cherry pick. Please look at the reference to context. What has he said? That even if you're driving a car or sitting in a car, if you by accident even kill a puppy, don't you feel bad? And I am a human being and I do feel bad, and I am the chief minister of the state. So clearly I feel bad for anything that happens. Now what more do you want than this? And you have limited your debate to only one question which is answered in one paragraph. Look at the other kind of statements he's made, where he said, for me secularism means India first. For me secularism means justice to all and appeasement to none. For me India means no dividing. Why talk about Hindus versus Sikhs? Why talk about Hindus versus Christians? Let's talk about India as a whole.
We are going to debate and discuss the rest of what Narendra Modi said as well. We will discuss that later on in the program, but I first want to discuss the one phrase which has been debated the most, and I want to go across to Arjun Morwadia. Look at the context in which Narendra Modi is speaking. He says, I feel the pain. He's expressing regret. He says it is natural to be sad when something bad happens anywhere. Why is the Congress and other parties not looking at the most substantive part of what he says? You're using a phrase, an analogy that he draws to make it seem as if he's called the riot victims Kutte ka Bacha, which he hasn't. That's a gross misrepresentation of what Narendra Modi said and what he meant. Arjun Morwadia.
Today, you know, he put his full interview in his tweet, and he, you know, left the judgment to the people, that let people decide. He never explained that I mean it. And second thing, when the Gujarat was burning at that time, the then Honorable Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee came into Gujarat, and he stated, not in absence of Narendra Modi, but in presence of Narendra Modi, that the Narendra Modi did not adhere to the Raj Dharma. Why he have to speak? Because at that time, he was not understand the pain of the victims. He did not visited any relief camp during these particular, you know, events, and still he is not, you know, feeling pain. Why defending the BJP people for Narendra Modi for these particular riots? He is not feeling guilty for this particular, you know, occurring. Okay. And not only Atal Bihari Vajpayee, not only Atal Bihari Vajpayee, at that time Justice Khare of the Supreme Court in the Supreme Court stated that when Gujarat was burning, modern days Nero were eyeing elsewhere.
Okay, I want to bring in J.S. Bandukwala. Mr. Bandukwala, as someone who saw the riots far more closely than anybody else in this program, what do you make of Narendra Modi's comments? He says he feels sad, he's anguished and pained by what happened. Is that, according to you, the more operative part, or are you also buying what the Congress, the JDU and others are saying, that he calls riot victims Kutte ka Bacha?
To begin with, I strongly condemn Narendra Modi's comment of Kutte ka Bacha. We now know that as far as Modi is concerned, Muslims rank much below even the level of dogs. But I go much further.
But he didn't say it in the context of Muslims. Mr. Bandukwala, he hasn't said it in the context of Muslims.
Yes.
He hasn't said it.
Yes, that is what I mean. That he is ultimately, the reference is Kutte ka Bacha. What the hell does he mean? I go one step still further. He calls himself a Hindu Indian. He doesn't call himself an Indian Hindu. That means he's first a Hindu and then an Indian.
Yes.
I go one step further. And I say that I am very proud to be a Muslim Indian. I am first a Muslim and then an Indian. But not only an Indian, I am an Indian of an India of Tagore, Gandhi, Nehru, Rajaji, Subhash Chandra Bose. But I have absolutely nothing to do with an India of Narendra Modi.
But Mr. Bandhukwala, you are suggesting, Mr. Bandhukwala, you are suggesting that Narendra Modi made his comments in the reference of Muslims in the context of riot victims. That's not what he says. He's drawing an analogy to bring out his pain and anguish and to say that he's saddened. Why don't you also look at that aspect of what Narendra Modi has said, sir?
Well, once again I say, whatever he did in 2002 is right in front of our eyes. He has not even once apologized to people like Bilkis Banu. How much she suffered. 17 of her family members were killed. Narendra Modi would take his Sadbhavna Yatra in Baroda, near her house. But he never had the guts to go and visit Bilkis. And what about Ishrat? How could he and Amit Shah have killed Ishrat? Ishrat is such a young, innocent child. And to kill her with 70 bullets being fired on her.
Okay.
And now Narendra Modi says that he is completely innocent of 2002. I think he is a Feku number 1.
Okay, Ashok Malik, unlike some other political leaders...
I'm extremely angry.
You're saying you're angry, but unlike other political leaders, Narendra Modi has a way with words. He's not the sort who will end up saying something which he doesn't mean. This is a question that he's rehearsed in his mind several times over. And if this is the best analogy that he draws, then there is a question that people like Bandhukwala, that others will ask, those who have apprehensions about him, that does he indeed think of the minorities as kutte ka bacha?
Look, I think that's a gross misrepresentation of, he hasn't said that, to be fair, and politicians aren't that insensitive across political parties to refer to human beings as children.
But do you accept that it's a wrong analogy to have drawn? It's a bad analogy to have drawn.
If you take those 2 or 3 words out in isolation, the phrase sounds very odd. I'm admitting that. But if you see the whole answer, which I have, which you have as well, then it doesn't, it flows naturally. And he says, look, if you're sitting in a car and there's a dog run over, you feel terrible. Any loss of life is terrible. Just let me finish, please. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Modi has spoken about the 2002 riots in successive interviews. There's actually 3 or 4 interviews now, including one to Shekhar Gupta many years ago, where he said, I have to take responsibility because in the end, I was Chief Minister, I have to live with this all my life. And I am responsible. So it's not like he's running away from it or has run away from it. Now, frankly, you know, there's 6 people on this show. Their positions on Modi are known. And they're going to draw from this interview, or any interview he gives, is only what they want to draw. Mr. Bandhukwala will draw what he wants to draw. Somebody who's a Modi adherent like Shaina NC will draw what she wants to draw. So I think this is a bit of a pointless debate because we're going to go around and around in circles debating the same thing.
No, but Sabir Ali, what Ashok Malik is saying is important, that look at the entire answer. You know, Janata Dal United was amongst the first parties to get off the block in criticizing Narendra Modi. Look at the context in which this phrase comes. Don't just look at those 3 words and try and blow them out of proportion and show him as being insensitive, because if you see the whole answer, he doesn't come across as being insensitive. He in fact reflects the pain and anguish that he feels. Sabir Ali.
See, Rahul, I don't want to go in the detail. I'll say it is unfortunate. The BJP has a leader like Narendra Modi, who was really started his career after becoming a first chief minister, as he has started his chief minister career in Gujarat. Within a very short time, he did what has never happened in the country. So you can understand his mindset. So I don't have any kind of to say about Narendra Modi. He can go till any extent of down to speak, because he knows he don't have anything else. What he has shows his face earlier regarding he has changed the entire Gujarat. What we are talking about, he has changed only 3 industrialists, nothing more than that. So whatever he talks, at least I don't take so much seriously. because I know his mentality. Once the mentality is set up.
No, okay.
the person
So
at
you
the
are
time of
questioning
the elections would like
his
to
mental
vote.
makeup, and I want to bring in Sudhanshu Mittal on that. The fact that he uses an analogy like this, and you know Narendra Modi really well, Sudhanshu. The fact is, he doesn't say things which he doesn't mean. There isn't a slip up. You could accuse some other leaders of saying things without fully understanding the import of what they're saying, but that can't be said about Narendra Modi. He's rehearsed this question in his mind several times, and if this is the answer, then questions will be asked whether this was deliberate, if that's the projection that he's doing to cater to his own vote bank.
Rahul, you have the script of the question in front of you.
Yes.
What was the question? You are talking about the events of 2002, right?
Yes.
Would you read out the question again, please?
The question is, did you regret what happened?
Did you regret what happened in 2002, right? Now, in 2002, was it only that the Muslims were killed? What about the Godhra victims? What about the Hindus who died in the riots? Why are we just interpreting everything in the context of Muslims? I just heard Mr. Bandukwala talking about this in the context of minorities. What about the majority? They were not killed. 2002 has, it does not have Godhra. Look, let's get out of this mindset. And I just heard
Who is
my
that
friend.
creator? Who is that creator?
Allow me to speak.
Who is that creator?
Allow me to speak.
Yeah.
You have spoken. Allow me
I
to speak.
agreed.
This is
If
most
there was a
unfair.
murder of even
This
the
is most
Hindus,
unfair. Allow me
but
to
who
speak.
has been created the situation?
Rahul, I seek
One by
intervention.
one, Sabir Ali, let's not do
Rahul,
it this way.
Rahul.
Let Sudhanshu Mittal complete his argument. Go on, Sudhanshu.
Mr. Sabir Ali's chief minister was eulogizing Narendra Modi in 2003, and he has the audacity to say that. Look, the entire thing is so stage managed in terms of its deliberate misinterpretation.
We have set up the example
Allow me to speak.
for
Allow
8
me.
years
Let's be
not
civil.
to intervene
Let us be
and
civil.
not to enter in the
Let
Bihar.
us be civil.
We
This
have
is
set
not
up
a
the
debate.
example.
Let us
For
be civil.
8 years,
Let
you
us,
didn't have a
is
courage.
this reflective
You didn't
of
have a
what
courage.
culture is
No,
this
no,
reflective
this
of?
makes no sense.
didn't have a
Sabir
courage.
Ali,
Culture is this
await your turn.
reflective of?
Sabir Ali, await your turn.
Intolerance.
Allowed for 8 years.
Look at that.
Turn the
Look at
fader
that
down.
intolerance.
Sabir Ali, you
Just
will wait
one
your
word.
turn.
Now, just one word, last
Yes.
word. On the roll of 2002, the people of Gujarat have given a befitting answer thrice. Thrice they have given a mandate. They have said, no, he's not guilty. The people of Gujarat do not believe that this is what Narendra Modi did. And after that, if this is what you have to say, if you have to berate and belittle the mandate the man has got from the people of Gujarat, you may do whatever.
Okay.
But do not use,
Okay.
do not use the name of people of Gujarat in terms of all the allegations here.
Okay,
These
you
are-
made 2 or 3
these are
points,
allegations by
and I want to take
obscurantists.
that further. One,
These
you know,
are-
he doesn't
these
just
are
mean
by
this.
obscurantists
The question
who
is
have
about
agendas in
2002.
their
The
mind.
question is not
And I
about
do not
Muslims.
think
And when he says
obscurantists
he's
is the
hurt,
answer.
it needs to be looked at in the context of him extending this to Hindus and Muslims both.
Rahul, a couple of things, and I'll demolish Sudhanshu Mittal's argument. If this question was asked of Narendra Modi about the Uttarakhand floods, and would he have compared it, said, the kutte ke bacche with the Uttarakhand floods? No, he wouldn't. You are right in your analysis that Narendra Modi thinks and thought. He has rehearsed this answer a million times in his head. This was a thought about analysis. He wouldn't have said this about the Uttarakhand floods. So it is natural for a particular community to feel that he was targeting them. Having said that, he comes out with a tweet that clarifies about life and all of that nonsense. He does not in his tweet clarify that he did not mean to target a particular community. He leaves that unanswered. Thirdly, what Sudhanshu Mittal says about he being elected once again and democratically elected, well, the answer to that is Sudhanshu Mittal, Hitler was democratically elected, does not absolve him of the crimes of putting Jews in a gas chamber and killing them.
Let it be, please, let the court say he's guilty.
So the matter is
You
sub
are
judice.
saying he's
The
guilty,
matter
does
is
not
still
make him
sub judice.
guilty.
So you agree, Mr. Sudhanshu Mittal, that Narendra Modi goes on to lie in the interview saying that he's got a clean
Making
chit.
him guilty
When you
does
said
not
that
make
let the
him
courts
guilty.
agree,
After
let the
all
courts
efforts
decide,
by
the
every
matter is still sub judice.
Every possible investigating agency, he has still not been held guilty or even accused.
And the same SIT has been challenged by petition. There's a petition against the SIT. There's a petition against the SIT. The matter is sub judice. But Narendra Modi goes on to lie in an interview saying he's got a clean chit.
Shame that you are putting these kind of allegations. I mean, let somebody say he's guilty. Many
Okay.
of you
The
are saying
matter is sub judice. There's a petition
Okay,
against
you've
the SIT.
made that point. You've made that point. Let's just try and bring some sanity into this discussion. We can keep yelling. That will not get us anywhere. Sudhanshu Mittal, just one second. Let's try and bring some sanity into this discussion. Ashok Malik argues, Shaina NC, that this is being done in some senses as per script. People have fixed notions of Modi and they will try and align everything he says, does or doesn't do in keeping with the prism of their bias. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think Narendra Modi could have avoided using this phraseology, because this is not a question that's suddenly been thrown at him. He expects, especially when he calls the foreign media in to Ahmedabad, he expects that this question will come, and this kutte ka bacha thing would surely not be something which was a lapse. It's not a slip of tongue, it's something he's thought about. In that context, is that not the wrong analogy?
I think Mr. Malik's assessment is bang on, and clearly he himself, being a senior journalist like yourself, realizes that Mr. Modi has not said anything wrong. And to say verbatim, his last sentence is, I am a human being. If something bad happens anywhere, it is natural to be sad. This is irrespective of him being a chief minister or not. I think, Rahul, you really need to move this debate beyond a particular segment of this entire debate, because this entire interview, if you read, he has talked about divisive politics, which is not the way he wants to choose his level of politics. He wants to unite people. He doesn't want to talk about, when you ask him about that question of whether he's a patriot or not, he says, I'm a patriot first. The fact that I'm born a Hindu, if that makes me a Hindu nationalist, so be it. I don't think you need to be apologetic about everything you say. And the people who choose to bash Modi ji over and over again on channels, etc., only get the befitting answer election after election, because the mandate is not just of public, the mandate is also of the Supreme Court and the SIT.
Supreme Court has not given any
and
mandate.
in this particular case, I don't think there is an iota of doubt or disbelief that Mr. Narendra Modi is, when he talks about secularism, he talks about India first, he talks about justice to all, appeasement to none. These are all commendable qualities.
Justice for all, appeasement for none, and his vision on business.
And his concluding and his analysis of the Democrats vis-a-vis the Republicans, all of that has just been bypassed, where you have tried to sensationalize one comment, kutte ka bachcha, but who is this kutte ka bachcha? Nobody is understanding the reference to context, that he is talking as a human being, that even the smallest of small animal, if hurt, I am a human being and I feel sad about it. So please give it to him and give credit, give him his due, rather than constantly bashing him, because trust me, the more the Congress choose to bash him, the larger than life hero that Narendra Modi becomes, which works very well for everyone here.
You know, justice for all, appeasement for none, his views on economy, his views on growth, his vision for India, Mr. Bandukwala, do you not think that those other more substantive issues of the Narendra Modi interview are being completely lost out in the din over one phrase? And also the question that was asked by Sudhanshu Mittal, he's not saying it only in the context of the minority community, he's saying it in the context of all that happened in 2002, and there were people from the Hindu community also who died. So then that just that one phrase and the importance that is being given to that one phrase, is that not out of proportion, Mr. Bandukwala?
Can I answer this, please?
Yes, Mr. Bandukwala.
See, you rest assured, I want to convey to Narendra Modi that under no condition will we allow another Gujarat anywhere in India. We'll do everything possible. We will never allow another Ishrat. We'll never allow another Bilkis. We'll do everything possible. And it is now the responsibility of the RSS to control Narendra Modi. The whole tragedy is...
Mr. Bandukwala, let the RSS and Narendra Modi do their job. Why are others jumping in? Let Narendra Modi and the RSS do their job.
Ma'am, we will do everything over here. The whole tragedy is that BJP RSS is exactly the mirror image of the Islamists in Egypt. They just cannot rule India. They just don't believe in the plural idea. And we know how Narendra Modi is running Gujarat. We know it.
Bandukwala just said he's a proud Muslim first and then an Indian. If he's a proud Muslim first and an Indian,
shouldn't he have said he's an Indian first and then a Muslim?
first and an Indian
Yes,
later.
ma'am,
He's
as
not
far
guilty.
as Muslims are concerned.
I am so amazed at this duplicity and this entire mindset
Yeah.
of saying if you're a Hindu and if you're proud to be a Hindu, then you are a criminal. If I am a Muslim and I'm a proud Muslim, I want every Muslim to be a proud Muslim. I want a Parsi to be a proud Parsi.
Is
I want a
manipulating
Sikh
words.
to be a
Nobody is
proud
saying
Sikh.
that.
No.
All we are
If a
saying
Hindu
is
is a
Hindu
proud
nationalism,
Hindu, there is
Muslim
criminal.
nationalism
If this
is
is
a
your
two-nation
definition
theory.
of
This is what
communism,
Gina propagated.
so be it.
What Mr. Bandukwala is saying is correct. We criticize Morsi. In a diverse country like Egypt, Morsi couldn't rule the country. You saw what happened. Narendra Modi is exactly that. India is
But
even
there's
more
another
diverse
analogy,
country.
Professor Bandukwala, that Narendra Modi draws with Republicans and Democrats. There are people who are fiercely, loyally Democrat. There are people who are fiercely, loyally Republican. The level of polarization in India may not have been so stark. But if people have a view, let them exercise their view. Why is it that Taisin is drawing parallels with Hitler? You're saying there won't be another Ishrat. There hasn't been another Ishrat. There hasn't been another riot since 2002. And the man's governance record speaks for itself. Let Professor Bandukwala speak first. Yeah. Taisin and Ashok also want to come in. Professor Bandukwala.
Are you asking me a question?
Yes, Mr. Bandukwala.
Say, once again I would like to emphasize, even on the issue of SIT, Modi argued today that SIT under Raghavan has given him a clean sheet. I can say one thing very clearly, Raghavan was totally compromised. Raghavan did exactly what Tatas wanted. What Tata voters wanted in
We
Gujarat.
don't know that. You have no proof for that,
Modi,
sir.
And Raghavan did exactly.
No, you're making this point. No one has any
wanted.
proof about that. It might have been
Yes,
grapevine.
Raghavan
It might have
was
been
totally
insinuated.
compromised.
It might have been the stuff of gossip, but it hasn't been proven. Shaina NC wants to respond to you.
Rahul, can I just make a small point?
Yes, Shaina.
I just want to make a small point, and I really want to do this for Mr. Bandukwala particularly. When Mr. Modi talks today and he says that, you know, there's a difference between criticism and an allegation. He is open to any kind of criticism because it has certain kind of research. But this baseless allegation, which one has been seeing year after year, time after time, and you have this handful of public that chooses to constantly just allege anything that they choose and which they believe in their mind is true. Now, this is factually untrue. Mr. Bandukwala, I would appreciate if you come up with your criticism, and in a democracy, Mr. Modi is even willing to accept that. And a tall leader as he is open to any kind of criticism. But baseless allegation, please steer away from.
Okay, Arjun Morwadia. Look at what Narendra Modi says when he's asked the question, how will you persuade the minorities, including Muslims, to vote for you? Narendra Modi says, first thing to Hindustan's citizens, to voters, Hindus and Muslims, I am not in favor of dividing. I'm not in favor of dividing Hindus and Sikhs. I'm not in favor of dividing Hindus and Christians. All the citizens, all the voters are my countrymen. So my basic philosophy is that I don't address an issue like this. There is also a danger to democracy. Religion should not be an instrument in your democratic process. So he's actually talking about a pan-India, a more nationalistic vision, which doesn't discriminate on the basis of your religion. And don't you think the most substantive parts of what Modi is saying are getting lost out in the din that political parties are trying to build around the Kutte Ka Bacha comment?
Rahul, first of all, I am just, just talking, the incident occurred after 2002. After 2002, immediately Narendra Modi has taken out Gaurav Yatra. I want to ask a question. Why Narendra Modi has taken out Gaurav Yatra at that time? What is the reason? Whether they, used these particular events as a Gaurav? That is a straight question. And he never replied for this. Second thing, during this 2002 to 2014, so many, events have been passed, but not a single time he narrated that yes, in 2002, what have been occurred, it's a bad for the Gujarat, bad for the politics. And second thing, why he uses his, phrase, the Kutte Ka Bacha over here? He doesn't know language. When he is, appearing to the foreign news agency, he appeared, with the preparedness and with the selected words he used to, you know, these particular phrases. Number 2, कुत्ते का बच्चा सिर्फ माइनॉरिटीज के लिए ऐसा नहीं है. हरेन पंड्या की हत्या हुई थी, उस समय उसका प्रार्थना सभा हुई थी, उसी समय उन्होंने अपनी लेजिस्लेटिव पार्टी का मीटिंग रखा था और अपने धारासभ्यों को वहां नहीं जाने दिया था. क्यों? नरेंद्र मोदी is, you know, Haren Pandya is opposing Narendra Modi.
Rahul, can I say something? What is the debate? That you see, it's
Debate, I know the
ironical.
debate, but every time he was playing
What
with
is the
cloth.
debate?
Okay.
What is the point
His
he's
own
making?
party or whether the other religions, you know, every time.
Okay, this
Every
is the
time he
point.
played
This
with
is the
the
point that
Just
Ashok.
one comment.
One second, Sudhanshu, I'm coming to you in a moment. Ashok, this is the point that will need to be answered. The fact that Narendra Modi doesn't slip up. This is not something that happened accidentally as a slip of tongue. The question will be asked, is this then a deliberate message that is being sent out to his right-wing Hindu nationalist vote bank that this is what I think of the minorities, this is what I think of those who died. So he's saying it also, as Tehseen alleges, in an attempt to reach out to his vote bank and tell them that I might not go to Ayodhya, but I'm fully with you.
Look, if indeed that is what Narendra Modi is aiming to do, then I'm afraid he's a very poor communicator, because this is such a roundabout way of sending that message. If indeed he wants to send that message, then I don't think anyone's got it. Okay, I would rather presume that he drew that analogy and used those 3 words, which in isolation can sound awkward, in the context in which he meant them. That you know, any human life is loss of any human life is terrible, and in a sense I am responsible as chief minister. And he says that later on in the interview. Coming to the issue of polarization, which I think we should have a deeper debate on that issue. Look, the phenomenon of democracy is a harmonizing phenomenon, but the process of politics through which we negotiate democracy can be one of choices, of an argument over choices, social choices, political choices, economic choices. And in that, Narendra Modi is saying that you can have a polarizing situation within that process of democracy, which is where he's distinguishing himself from his rivals.
No, be that as
in
it
the
may,
UPA.
there can be a polarization on economic issues, whether
But
you
he
have a
hasn't
right of centre
suggested-
approach or you have a left or
Absolutely,
centre
he
approach,
hasn't suggested
to open up the
polarizing-
economy or not to
but-
open
but
up
he
the
hasn't
economy, but the
any-
polarization
no,
unfortunately is turning out to be a religious polarization.
First of all, it is not turning out to be religious polarization.
Well,
at
the
all.
opposition is trying to do just that.
Second, just 1 minute.
That's why we're debating
Just
it.
1 minute.
But that's why we're debating
Just
it.
1 minute.
Just to tell you.
Second, if you read the rest of his interview, he says, I don't want to bring religion into politics. So how can you square that comment?
And
When
therefore
you take
that charge is against
when you
the
take-
opponents.
when you take
Because
that-
look at his question.
How can you square that with
True.
saying,
Look at his
bringing
question,
polarization on religious
Tehseen.
basis?
Do you believe India should have a secular leader? We do believe that, says Modi. But what is the definition of secularism? For me, my secularism is India first. I say philosophy of my party is justice to all, appeasement to none. That is our secularism. So this whole bogey of religious polarization is actually being trumpeted by the BJP's opponents and Modi's enemies.
That's a fantastic point you got out, Rahul, and I said this in my first point, justice to all, appeasement of none. Except that the fact of the matter is Narendra Modi made sure that the Muslims, the victims of the riots, who were primarily Muslims, did not get justice in Gujarat. The Supreme Court had to intervene and move the cases out of Gujarat. So even out here, Narendra Modi is lying to his teeth, and once again we see a polarization. The fact that we are having this debate is because there is a religious polarization.
No, but that's
Nobody
because
can
political
answer-
parties
nobody can
jumped
answer-
on what
would-
Modi
would
said.
Narendra Modi-
Because
would
you
Narendra-
picked up that
would
one
Narendra
phrase
Modi
because
have
that
said
suits
Kutte
you
ka
the
bacha?
most.
Would Narendra Modi have said Kutte ka bacha for the Uttarakhand floods? No, he wouldn't. And we all know that. He can pretend to be ignorant here, but we know he wouldn't have said that. And the most important point, you made the point about Ishrat Jahan. The reason no more further encounters happened after Ishrat Jahan, but there were 5 before Ishrat Jahan, was simply because the officers who were continuously involved in all the encounters, from Sadiq Jamal to Sohrabuddin to Ishrat Jahan, were now behind bars. And like a miracle, Narendra Modi was not being attacked anymore. Like a miracle, nobody from Pakistan came to kill him. I have traveled to Gujarat in 2007, seen his election speeches. He polarizes. He used to start his election speeches shouting the word Sohrabuddin. The crowd would then react by saying, let us kill Sohrabuddin. And Narendra Modi, these are videos on YouTube, Narendra Modi would say, what do me and my people then do? That's what we had to do. The pride of Gujarat was being attacked from a neighbor who does not see India progress.
But he
across
hasn't
Gujarat.
said something like that
But
in quite a while.
he did it in his speeches, and that's why the polarization has happened. All of this is in a context, including the Kutte ka bacha, in a context to the
Okay,
riots.
you're saying that there is a context there is a background to this. Look at what he said about Sohrabuddin and those speeches. Sudhanshu Mittal, everyone remembers where he said, "Kya karna hai," and the audience would row back, "Mar do, mar do."
Absolutely.
Those comments are part of what Narendra Modi has done, and therefore, when he uses a phrase like "Kutte ka bacha," people will obviously question whether this was deliberate and intentional to send out a message to his vote bank. Sudhanshu Mittal.
The speech, nowhere is it indicative of the Muslims. So saying kutte ka bacha is for the Muslims, I mean it is, I do not understand what physiology I should use.
Why didn't he
to
clarify,
describe this mindset.
Sudhanshu
Allow me to complete.
No,
One
I'm just
thing.
asking you, why didn't he
What is
clarify?
irony?
He sent a
What
tweet
is
saying
irony?
all life is important. He could have
Just a
clarified.
minute.
Why didn't he clarify, Sudhanshu ji?
1 minute. What an irony.
Ji.
The so-called communal forces are talking about development. They are talking about justice for all. And so-called secular forces are only talking about Hindu and Muslims and rights and all. Rahul, this nation needs to go beyond what has happened in the past. It needs to look at development. It needs to look at governance. It needs to look at corruption in the governance of the Congress. It needs to look at price rise. It needs to look at what is happening to the dollar. The real-time issues are different than what Congress or the so-called secular parties want this nation to debate on. The debate should be on the quality of life. The debate
Okay,
is how a poor man...
that's an important point you make.
The specific question, just
Allow me to
specific
finish.
charges are very specific. Neither
What is
Shaina,
Narendra
neither
Modi
Sudhanshu ji
debating?
nor Ashok ji has been
What
able
is
to be
Narendra Modi
specific. They
debating?
go
He
all around the
is
topic. They
What
don't
is
answer the
your
specific
He's
What is your
talking
question? What is the
so many
specific
years
question?
he's talking about governance. And what do you want him to talk? You want him to talk Hindu? You want him to talk Muslim? He says, no, that's not my governance. My governance is justice for all, appeasement to none. My governance is that I want to see the poor flourish in my state. My governance, I want development in this country. My governance is that I want good governance. Instead of concentrating on this, answering to this, what are you debating? You just want a debate to be communalized because you think the minority vote bank is going to favor you. Forget it. The nation has moved on. The nation is looking at
You raise an important point, and I want to put that question to Professor Bandukwala. The fact that the irony of the build-up to 2014, Mr. Bandukwala, has been that the so-called communal leaders are talking of development and the so-called secular leaders are only talking of a religious divide. What do you make of this irony, sir?
See, national polarization is in the interest of Narendra Modi. He wants the country to be divided along communal lines.
But
so
he hasn't
can
said
win
anything
the
so
power
far to
in
divide
Delhi.
the country. He hasn't
Now
made
today-
a single
But today,
communal comment.
yes, but today, well, let me
amazing.
let me complete, please. Let me complete.
Yes, Mr. Bandukwala.
But today, it is immaterial for Muslims. Muslims are only interested in their own security in India. And we will do everything possible.
You want
As
the
I
Muslims
told you
to be vote
earlier,
banks.
We don't want another
You
issue.
want them to keep, you want to
No,
keep
we are
them
not.
backward so that
We
they can
will
use as
vote.
vote banks.
We will vote for that party.
May I just make one quick
No, we are not interested even in a. We will vote for that party.
You are only interested
we
in
can
One by one,
defeat
Sudhanshu,
BJP.
extend the courtesy that you would like others to extend to you.
We are-
sentiments.
We are
Sudhanshu,
not.
let Mr. Bandukwala complete his argument.
Note again. We are not interested in power at all. We don't want power. We just want security over here. And we'll do everything possible.
Okay, so in the
Because we
last
have
part
seen
of our debate tonight,
damage
I want to raise this
Modi and-
proposition.
Modi and Amit
Okay, Mr.
Shah.
Bandukwala, you've spoken. In the last part, I want to look at this question that by making these comments and by the sort of reactions that we've seen, are we not only firming up stereotypes, Ashok Malik? Those who love Modi will find some context in this interview to continue to love him. Those who hate him will find some context to continue to hate him. And there will be no softening of opinion towards Modi. One of what Modi should ideally be doing is try to soften opinion about him by trying to convert the fence-sitters. But what we're seeing is a gradual hardening of opinion as opposed to a softening of opinion.
See, two things. If you just give me 2 minutes. One, frankly, you're quite right. If a puppy didn't exist, we would have invented it this evening. And irrespective of what he said in this interview, we'd have some sort of debate about Modi. This election, which is coming up, is frankly Modi is becoming the issue of the election in a sense, and people are going to vote with two motivations. So one section would want to stop him at all cost, and the other section would want to vote out the BJP, vote out the Congress, sorry, even if it means bringing in Modi, whether you like him or you don't. Okay, and these two sort of different approaches or different motivations have been set in stone and are going to dominate till 2014.
No, but that suits the Congress party. Instead of the election being held on anti-incumbency, corruption, all the scams, the election becomes a referendum on Modi.
I haven't said that. I've said some people want to stop Modi and some people want to throw out the Congress, come what may. So these two motivations have been set in stone and people have taken their positions on these. Coming to polarization, Mr. Bandukwala said polarization helps Modi. Quite to the contrary, I think polarization helps the Congress in 2014. I'll tell you why. There are 5 states, West Bengal, Assam, Maharashtra, UP and Andhra Pradesh, which have strong Muslim populations, which voted in large numbers for the Congress in 2009. The Congress did well in these states. In all 5 states, the Congress faces regional challenges or faces disaffection from the Muslim community for a variety of reasons. Mr. Modi's appearance on the national stage has been a godsend for the Congress. They can use Mr. Modi as a hate symbol to polarize Muslim votes and mobilize Muslim votes, which is precisely what they're trying to do.
No, but this, Sudhanshu Mittal, is not good news for the BJP increasingly as Narendra Modi goes out and speaks. Okay, Shaina wants to speak first. So Shaina, let me put that question to you. As Narendra Modi goes, yes, Narendra Modi goes and, does his campaign rallies, which he will start doing in a few days from now, all across the country. About 75 have been planned. As opinion hardens on both sides of the fence, does it then not suit the Congress, instead of this election being a referendum on corruption, scams, performance, lack of performance of the Congress party, it becomes a referendum instead on Narendra Modi, which is not good news for the BJP?
That is precisely why the public will vote for Narendra Modi, because they're so fed up of the corruption, they're so fed up of scams, they're so fed up of no, political will at all. And just coming back to your basic question, I'd just like to say this nation has seen vote bank politics ever since independence. On the one side, you keep on talking about this pseudo-secularism and you try to polarize your own votes. Here, when Narendra Modi is reaching out to public, when he himself is saying that he does not believe in divisive politics, he does not believe in Hindus versus Christians, Hindus versus Sikhs, he talks about everyone being Indian first. These are qualities that you need to applaud. So when you say, will this polarize votes, I think this will make more and more people realize that this kind of Modi bashing that we've been seeing year after year is not going to make him into a smaller leader. It's going to make him into a larger than life hero who is reaching out to everyone, who is accepting that he's a human being. He does feel pain. He does want for India to be just India first. And these are the positive signals which we should be highlighting on today's debate. And for the public who's watching, they clearly know that by cherry picking and selectively using one phrase here, one phrase there, that only makes Narendra Modi that much more popular.
Arjun Morwadia wants to respond to you, Mr. Morwadia.
Rahul, after that,
yes, Rahul. Yes. Rahul, Narendra Modi definitely would not discuss the governance issue, corruption issue. He just, at the time of election, whether it is 2004, 2007 or 2009, every time he wants to polarize the voting pattern on the communal line. Because corruption and the governance issue is always counterproductive to Narendra Modi. Today, in his own government, one convicted, the person is in the cabinet and he is not able to remove the Babu Bokhiria from the ministry because Babu Bokhiria's help, he got help to kill the Haran Pandya. Everyone is overseas. Narendra Modi himself was involved in 1 lakh crores of the scam, the corruption in the 17 scams. There is no Lokayukt in Gujarat. So every, the issue of the governance and corruption is counterproductive to him. So every time he used to polarize, the society by, raising such type of the issue. And he intentionally raised such issues. At, 2002, he raised the Kausharbi.
I'm out of time on this debate.
Nowadays, we again started this particular
Sudhanshu, quick final comments. We're out of time on the program.
Puppy, the kutte ka bacha.
Rahul, one comment.
He want to polarize this.
Rahul,
polarize the society on the communal line. That is the agenda set by the Narendra Modi and even the Amit Shah you know, at reaching the Ayodhya, he stated that हम राम मंदिर बनाएंगे और जब सत्ता में आएंगे तो तारीख नहीं बताएंगे, ये उनका मुद्दा है.
Okay, Sudhanshu Mittal, quickly.
कम्युनल लाइन पे ही आते रहते हैं.
Rahul, you just said it is bad news for BJP because this polarization will consolidate the Muslim votes and it is bad news for BJP. If it is bad news, so be it. BJP is wanting to talk about governance, development, kushasan as we say. We want to talk about corruption, we want to talk about economy.
He never allowed such type of debate in the Gujarat Assembly.
And if they want to talk about Hindu, they want to talk about Muslim,
he never
they want to
spoke in the
criminalize
assembly.
election.
Narendra Modi never spoke in the assembly in last 12 years.
We are not going to fight this election on their agenda of communalism. We are going to fight this election on the issue of governance.
Mr. Morwadia, one by one. Mr. Morwadia, one by one.
Speak in the assembly, you know.
They may like to deflect attention.
You are putting agenda.
Not like they do deflect attention.
Like you.
We will like to fight this election on the issue of governance because this is what this nation needs. This nation needs an answer to corruption. This nation needs an answer to price rise. This nation needs an answer to policy paralysis. This nation needs an answer to the state of affairs with the dollar and rupee. So this nation needs an answer on governance. We are going to fight this election on governance. You want to polarize it, so be it. If we are at a loss because of that,
he would never allow to speak on the governance and corruption because he himself was involved. So he never allowed, you know. Not in the assembly and outside the assembly.
Governance.
He is always, you know,
on their communalism.
He is always a, you know, silent spectator in the house. He never speaks about the governance, about the corruption, about the lockout. He is never allowed to speak in the assembly. Why?
Okay, Tehseen Poonawalla, quick final comments.
I'd just like to quote Faiz. He made Rahul, I'd just like to quote Faiz. He made his lines about Gujarat. ये देखकर भी पतंगे हैरान हो गई. अब तो छते भी हिंदू मुसलमान हो गए. This is how Narendra Modi has run Gujarat. We will not let him run India this way. There will be no Hindu and Muslim chat. It has to be run on the basis of development.
I think it's not about what the Congress party wants. It's about what the people of India must decide.
The people of India want good governance without any hint of communalism, without anybody being called Kutte ka bachcha.
Sudhanshu, you want to respond to that?
This notion that you are India is not good. The nation will decide. We means you are not anybody.
Well,
so let's not talk about all this.
People like minority always left out. You say the notion that we are India is not. Sudhanshu, you are saying this on national television. You always see people like us.
One thing that is very clear.
The nation sees what your ministers have been doing.
Okay.
The level of corruption, the level of debasement.
Let's talk about Gujarat, Joe Global. Let's talk about your minister who's in jail. Let's talk about Maya Kotnani. Let's talk about your governance. Let's talk about the lies and the canard that you all spread.
Okay, we can continue debating Narendra Modi till 2014. We'll still find no resolution to this. Ashok Malik, quick 20 seconds before I
find it surprising that after 10 years of rule, the Congress says, vote us back, not because of what we've done, but just keep Modi out.
No, they don't. I don't think the Congress says that.
I think at the end of the day, one thing which is very clear is that both parties are playing their political game. They want to polarize this election for their vested interest. The Congress in the hope that the minorities will rally for them and against Narendra Modi to try and keep him out. They will try and scare voters into voting for the Congress party. The BJP, for its part, would try and unite its voters so that they benefit. This business of polarization is being actively worked on by both parties, overtly and covertly. And at the end of the day, the voters must decide. Tehseen Poonawalla will not decide. Sudhanshu Mittal will not decide who comes in next. It's you who are watching this program who will decide whether or not you wish to vote in Narendra Modi. Increasingly, it seems it's becoming more and more of a referendum around the man as opposed to being a referendum around what the government has done in the last 10 years. You decide whether you wish to vote for Modi or you wish to vote for someone else. We don't weigh in one way or the other. To all my guests for joining us on what's been a highly divisive, contentious issue, but that's the way the man is. Whether he meant the phrase Kutte ka bachcha in the context that he says he did or in a completely unholy context with a vested interest is something you reach your own conclusion on. You've heard very passionately argued points of view on both sides. Before I end this broadcast,